Did you know that Washington has the only rainforest in the continental United States? Or that the state sits on 5 active volcanoes ready to blow? How about the fact that it contains both desert and glaciers within 100 miles of each other? Well, Washington is packed with insane facts like this, and we're about to reel off 50 of them. While some seem too bizarre to be true, trust us, they are 100% real. Fact 50. The Volcanic Firing Squad. Washington has 5 volcanoes listed as high or very high threat potential: Mount Baker, Glacier Peak, Mount Rainier, Mount St. Helens, and Mount Adams. These aren't dormant mountains, they're active time bombs that could reshape the entire Pacific Northwest in a matter of hours. Fact 49. Mount Rainier, the Glacier King. No other peak in the lower 48 states has more glacial ice than Mount Rainier. This 14,411-foot giant is basically a frozen water tower with 26 glaciers wrapped around an active volcano. Fact 48. America's only continental rainforest. The Olympic Peninsula supports dense forests and areas of temperate rainforest. These deep forests, such as the Hoh rainforest, are among the only rainforests in the continental United States. It's like having a piece of the Amazon in the Pacific Northwest. Fact 47. The desert next door. Eastern Washington is a legitimate desert that receives less than 10 inches of rain annually. You can drive from temperate rainforest to arid desert in just 3 hours, like traveling from Oregon to Arizona without leaving the state. Fact 46. The volcano that exploded sideways. Mount St. Helens didn't erupt up in 1980, it exploded sideways, removing the entire north face of the mountain and creating the largest landslide in recorded history. The blast flattened 230 square miles of forest. Fact 45. Glacier Peak, the hidden giant. Glacier Peak is Washington's most remote volcano and arguably the most dangerous. It's produced more explosive eruptions than any other Cascade volcano, yet most people have never heard of it. Fact 44. The Cascade Curtain. The Cascade Mountains create such a dramatic climate barrier that western Washington gets 150-plus inches of rain annually, while eastern Washington gets less than 10. It's like having 2 different planets in one state. Fact 43. Olympic rainforest record. The Hoh rainforest receives up to 180 inches of rainfall annually. That's 15 feet of rain every year. Some areas get over 200 inches, making it one of the wettest places in North America. Fact 42. Mount Baker's Ice Age. Mount Baker holds more glacial ice than any volcano in the continental U.S. except Mount Rainier. This 10,781-foot peak is basically a giant ice cream cone that never melts. Fact 41. The Channeled Scablands. Eastern Washington's channeled scablands were carved by the largest floods in Earth's history when Ice Age Lake Missoula burst. These floods move rocks the size of houses at 60-plus miles per hour. Fact 40. Puget Sound's underwater mountains. Puget Sound isn't just water, it contains underwater mountains, valleys, and canyons carved by glaciers. Some parts are over 900 feet deep, deeper than most inland lakes. Fact 39. The Alpine Lakes Wilderness. Washington has over 700 alpine lakes scattered through the Cascade Mountains. That's more high-elevation lakes than Colorado and Montana combined. Fact 38. Mount Adams, the Forgotten Giant. Mount Adams is Washington's second highest peak at 12,280 feet, but it's so remote that most Washingtonians forget it exists. It's basically a massive volcano hiding in plain sight. Fact 37. Spokane's underground city. Downtown Spokane sits on top of an extensive underground tunnel system built in the early 1900s. Entire city blocks have hidden basements connected by tunnels. Fact 36. The Strait of Juan de Fuca. This waterway between Washington and Vancouver Island is one of only 3 straits on the U.S. Pacific coast. It's basically an oceanic hallway that ships use to reach Seattle. Fact 35. Washington's Sahara. The Columbia River Plateau contains genuine sand dunes in places, creating desert landscapes that look more like Nevada than the Pacific Northwest. Fact 34. Glacier-fed rivers everywhere. Washington has more glacier-fed rivers than any other state. Over 3,000 glaciers feed the state's waterways, creating some of the purest water on Earth. Fact 33. The Evergreen State reality. Washington is 52% forested, but the nickname Evergreen State is actually misleading. Much of eastern Washington is treeless shrub steppe that looks more like Wyoming. Fact 32. Mount St. Helens speed record. The 1980 Mount St. Helens blast moved at 300-plus miles per hour, faster than most race cars. The debris avalanche was one of the fastest geological events ever recorded. Fact 31. Lake Chelan's hidden depth. Lake Chelan reaches 1,486 feet deep, so deep its bottom sits 400 feet below sea level. It's like having a liquid skyscraper turned upside down in the mountains. Fact 30. The Palouse Hills. The Palouse region features rolling hills created entirely by wind-blown dust over thousands of years. These aren't geological formations, they're massive piles of fertile dirt. Fact 29. Washington's volcanic explosion history. Mount Mazama, now Crater Lake in Oregon, exploded 7,700 years ago and covered eastern Washington in volcanic ash up to 6 feet deep. The evidence is still buried in soil layers. Fact 28. The Columbia River Gorge Wind. The Columbia River Gorge funnels wind at such consistent speeds it's become the windsurfing capital of North America. Winds regularly hit 35+ miles per hour. Fact 27. Diablo Lake's alien color. Diablo Lake in the North Cascades glows turquoise due to glacial flour, rock dust so fine it makes the water look like it's from another planet. Fact 26. Mount Rainier's lahar danger. Mount Rainier could produce massive mudflows called lahars that would reach Puget Sound in 45 minutes. These concrete-like flows could bury entire cities. Fact 25. The Dry Side Desert. Sequim on the Olympic Peninsula sits in a rain shadow that receives only 16 inches of annual rainfall, creating a desert microclimate surrounded by rainforest. Fact 24. Washington's earthquake potential. The Cascadia subduction zone off Washington's coast could produce a magnitude 9.0 earthquake and massive tsunami. The last one happened in 1700. Fact 23. Carbon River Rainforest. Mount Rainier hosts the only inland temperate rainforest in the continental U.S., a unique ecosystem that exists nowhere else on Earth. Fact 22. The Sleeping Volcano Network. Washington's volcanoes are all connected underground through the same magma system. When one activates, others often follow within years or decades. Fact 21. Snoqualmie Falls Power. Snoqualmie Falls generates electricity for the region and was one of the world's first commercial hydroelectric plants, operational since 1898. Fact 20. The Banana Belt. Parts of western Washington are so mild they're called the Banana Belt. Some areas rarely see temperatures below 40 degrees Fahrenheit, even in winter. Fact 19. Mount Baker's snow record. Mount Baker holds the world record for snowfall in a single season. 1,140 inches, 95 feet, fell during the 1998 to 1999 winter. Fact 18. The state of extreme contrasts. You can experience temperate rainforest, alpine glaciers, desert conditions, and volcanic landscapes all within a 4-hour drive. Fact 17. Puget Sound's glacial origin. The entire Puget Sound region was carved by glaciers over 3,000 feet thick. Imagine ice thicker than the Space Needle is tall, covering everything from Seattle to Olympia. These glaciers didn't just sit there. They moved like geological bulldozers, carving out the Sound's deep basins, creating the San Juan Islands, and sculpting the dramatic topography that defines the region today. When the ice retreated, it left behind a landscape so thoroughly redesigned that virtually every geographic feature from lake basins to mountain valleys shows evidence of glacial carving. The entire Seattle metropolitan area is essentially living on top of a massive glacial construction project. Fact 16. Washington's Apple Empire. Washington produces 60% of America's apples, but here's the kicker. Most orchards exist in desert conditions that naturally receive only 8 to 12 inches of annual rainfall. This $2.4 billion agricultural empire exists entirely because of massive irrigation systems that transform high desert into some of the most productive farmland in the world. The Yakima Valley alone produces over 175,000 tons of apples annually by importing water through irrigation networks that rival ancient Roman aqueducts in scope and engineering complexity. It's like turning Nevada into the Garden of Eden using nothing but imported water and agricultural genius. Fact 15. The Pacific Ring of Fire. Washington sits directly on the Pacific Ring of Fire, the volcanic belt that produces 90% of the world's earthquakes and 75% of its active volcanoes. This puts the state in the same geological neighborhood as Japan, Indonesia, and other regions famous for volcanic catastrophes. The Cascade Volcanic Arc is basically North America's version of the volcanic chains that created islands like Hawaii and Japan, except it's built on continental crust with 3 million people living in the blast zones. It's like choosing to build cities on a geological time bomb that's been ticking for millions of years. Fact 14. Olympic Peninsula Isolation. The Olympic Peninsula was so geographically isolated during the Ice Age that it became an evolutionary laboratory where unique species developed in complete isolation. The Olympic marmot exists nowhere else on Earth, while the peninsula hosts subspecies of elk, black bear, and numerous plants that evolved separately from their mainland relatives. This isolation created what biologists call island biogeography on a peninsula, proving that mountains and ice can be just as effective as oceans at creating evolutionary boundaries. It's like having the Galapagos Islands effect happening on the mainland. Fact 13. Mount St. Helens Blast Zone. The 1980 Mount St. Helens eruption created an accidental natural laboratory where scientists study how ecosystems recover from total devastation. The blast zone, where nothing survived for 230 square miles, has become one of the most important ecological research sites in the world. Researchers have documented how life returns to completely sterilized landscapes, from the first bacteria and fungi to the eventual return of large mammals. It's like having a real-time demonstration of how Earth recovers from catastrophe, providing insights that help scientists understand everything from asteroid impacts to climate change recovery. Fact 12. The Methow Valley's secret. The Methow Valley in north-central Washington receives over 300 days of sunshine annually, more than Phoenix, Arizona, despite being located in a state famous for clouds and rain. This high-elevation valley sits in such a perfect rain shadow that it creates a microclimate more similar to Colorado than the Pacific Northwest. The combination of high elevation, continental climate, and mountain barriers creates conditions so sunny and dry that the valley supports a completely different ecosystem and lifestyle than the rest of western Washington. It's like having a piece of the Mountain West accidentally placed in the Cascade Range. Fact 11. Washington's tsunamis past. Geological evidence buried in coastal marshes shows that massive tsunamis have repeatedly devastated Washington's coast, with the most recent occurring in 1700. This tsunami was so large that it was recorded in Japanese historical documents as a orphan tsunami, a massive wave that arrived without a preceding earthquake because the earthquake happened thousands of miles away in Washington. Fact 10. The Cascade Volcanic Arc. The Cascade Range contains over 13 major volcanoes and numerous smaller ones, creating one of the most concentrated volcanic regions in North America. Fact 9. Spokane River's Urban Rapids. Downtown Spokane features legitimate whitewater rapids flowing through the city center. Urban whitewater that's completely unique. Fact 8. The Grand Coulee. Grand Coulee is one of the largest canyons in North America, carved by the massive Ice Age floods. It's 50 miles long and up to 900 feet deep. Fact 7. Mount Rainier's Volcanic Clock. Mount Rainier erupts roughly every 500 to 1,000 years. The last major eruption was about 1,000 years ago, putting it right on schedule for another show. Fact 6. Washington's unique rain shadow. The Olympic Mountains create multiple rain shadows, resulting in some areas getting 200 plus inches annually, while others get less than 20. Fact 5. The San Juan Islands Mystery. The San Juan Islands are actually the tops of mountains drowned by rising sea levels after the Ice Age. What looks like islands are really mountain peaks. Fact 4. Yakima Valley's Desert Oasis. The Yakima Valley produces 75% of America's hops despite being located in high desert conditions. It's agriculture powered by massive irrigation. Fact 3. Washington's glacier count. Washington contains over 3,000 glaciers, more than any other state except Alaska. These glaciers feed major river systems throughout the Pacific Northwest. Fact 2. The state of geological extremes. Washington has active volcanoes, massive glaciers, temperate rainforests, true deserts, earthquake faults, and tsunami zones all within its borders. Fact 1. Mount Rainier's massive presence. Mount Rainier is the most topographically prominent mountain in the contiguous U.S. It rises so dramatically from sea level that it creates its own weather systems and can be seen from 100 plus miles away. Washington state isn't just diverse, it's like having multiple planets contained within a single state border, from rainforests that rival the Amazon to deserts that mirror the Southwest, all watched over by a network of active volcanoes that could rewrite the map at any moment. Want to discover mind-bending facts about another state? What about 50 New York geography facts that will blow your mind?